Today, I want to talk a little bit about the new Netflix series, A Man in Full, which was very loosely based on a book by Tom Wolfe. And when I say very loosely based on, I mean they kind of have the same name, and it's about a real estate magnate in Georgia, but that's not necessarily pretty close to about the only thing they have together. Now, if you don't know Thomas Wolfe, he's passed away, but he wrote a lot of books you probably heard of, including things like The Right Stuff, which is about the space program, and others. This book was written in 1998, and I know there's a lot of people are going to watch this show and be like, "Oh, it's about a billionaire real estate magnate who goes broke." It's about Trump. Dude wrote it in 98, or published it in 98. And in the author's own words, it was completely fictional and made up. That being said, it begs the question, and one of the things I love about fiction is it makes you think. At least some fiction does. Certain things do, certain things don't. But this one kind of makes you think, at least a little bit, about are real estate, big real estate, commercial real estate guys, are they really just kind of like that? Because we've seen a lot of press lately, like about a certain trial going on in New York, and a lot of people coming out and saying, well, they're enforcing this law, but everybody, sort of fakes their paperwork. Everybody says their real estate's more than worth more than it is. We all inflate our values to go get bank loans and go do business. uh, that's kind of an interesting thing to say. And in the series, there's it's a real estate guy whose bank has decided enough's enough. You owe us almost $1 billion. You owe other banks a couple 100 million. We're all coming after you. We're foreclosing. We're taking your jets. We're coming after everything you own. Um, and then the real estate guy has to kind of go through these little political jumps and what can I get on that person to use on that person, and he has to kind of jump through a lot of hoops to kind of say, okay, I'm going to get a favor from this person to get a favor from that person. I got to destroy that person's life. And it kind of makes the question of do those bigger real estate guys just kind of the ones that, do towers and $400 million projects, not all of them, but do some of them just kind of view laws as sort of optional? Do some of them kind of live in a world where the same rules that apply to you and me don't necessarily apply? Like I can't go out and say, hey, I want to take a loan on my car. I swear it's worth $250,000. Oh, well, what is it? A Lamborghini? Is it something? No, it's an SUV. So yeah, we can't inflate those values and get away with it. Yet apparently that's common practice in real estate. And apparently, like in the story, the real estate mogul's kind of behind on some bank payments. He's like, I just want to defer commercial, principal payments for a while. No big deal, right? I just want to go in and restructure the loan so I don't have to pay anything for a couple of months. Meanwhile, I'm going to take my jet. I'm going out for the weekend, right? See ya. Right? So those sorts of things kind of come into play as far as is that just kind of the way the world works for people in that group, or is it really different? Then it does sort of portray the bankers with a personal vendetta. So you've got the guy over here on the real estate side going, yeah, you can see that he's kind of doing things that normal people just wouldn't flat out get away with. Then you see the bank making it personal and the evil banker. So it's sort of like who's right and who's wrong. It begs that question of in this particular case, who's the person who is virtuous, who is the person who is the protagonist versus the antagonist, or is just a bunch of dickheads going at each other. There is a B story in it that actually is probably more entertaining than the A story, about a an African American who was arrested roughly, and actually did punch a cop out and wound up having to deal with the whole trial of, hey, the cop was roughing you up and had absolutely no cause to do it. You fought back because it was just a gut reaction to fight back, and now you're in jail, and that's a problem, right? And who's going to believe this, right? So that story to me was probably more interesting than the A story, because the A story to me just looked like a bunch of rich people, kind of, the super rich people trying to argue with each other over, I want to be the super rich one. No, I'm more important than you. And none of it had anything to do with the way that normal people go through and conduct business in their daily lives. And to me, that says, if that's what goes on at that level, do I really want to be in those rooms? And could I go to home and sleep at night? I know I get to sleep in a really nice place, but could I go home and sleep at night as a result of having to be like that? And I'm not saying all those rooms are like that. I'm not saying all the real estate billionaires out there are like that. But I think we've heard a few stories about some of them, right? Not just one. There's more than one we've heard those stories about. I remember in the author's own words, this was not based on any real life person. I think it's just more based on that industry. And yes, there's one person from that industry who's in the news all the time right now. But it doesn't make them the same. The one thing I can say about the show is it was entertaining, it was new, it was unique. But I think Jeff Daniels was kind of wasted in it. He's a much better actor than that. They didn't really give him any chance to really kind of come out, other than just sort of being this sort of, okay, stand there and say this, right? Other than that, I think the show was okay. It was not something I'm ever going to watch again, but it was okay. I really enjoyed the book. I read it years ago. I absolutely adore the book, but the show, if I had to rank it out of 10, I'd give it maybe a 6.5. Not going to put any higher than that. It's a solid 6.5. So, everybody have a great weekend. I hope you enjoy your time off. If you see this today, if not, I hope you enjoy whatever day you see this. Click like, subscribe, follow, comment, whatever you'd like to do. Have a good one.